Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururityabhidhiyate Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now, let us see. Are you able to see? Yes?
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay. We'll try to finish this section today with Bhagavan's grace. Rest of it we can see later, or if you would like to continue with, if you are enjoying the text, this is exactly where we are, and you can continue the bi-monthly classes. I will ask Chitra or Sahadev to email you the schedule so that you can join in if you would like to continue. Verse number 16 to 1. Okay. Dehendriya manah prana buddhyahankara chetasi ashuchavatma bhavosa vashuchitvasya karanam. This is just a list because this is the section called Shaucha Nirnaya, and so one needs to know where this Shaucha is needed. This is a very important question. Where is this Shaucha needed? Because we want to know where, where should I clean? Because in the prevailing Purva Pakshas, in the prevalent contentions, and what were those prevalent contentions? The prevalent contentions said that there were so many matas. Matas means various philosophical opinions were there, and those philosophical opinions, the philosophical opinions of the times said the following. What did they say? They said that some of them said Atma is unclean. Atma has to be cleaned. We don't subscribe to that at all. We cannot. Atma cannot be unclean, because if Atma is unclean, that there is no point of this study at all. Because that which is unclean has to be clean, like the body. Today you take a shower, you put soap and everything, and then tomorrow you cannot say, I took a shower yesterday. You cannot say that. You have to take a shower again. So if Atma, is cleaned, then if it is unclean, then it has to be cleaned repeatedly. Then what's the point of Vedanta? There is no moksha possible. Because our whole premise is the very opposite, that the Atma doesn't need any cleaning. But if you go to Jain philosophy and some other philosophies in that time, they had this mata that the Atma itself is unclean here. So to get rid of that, those kinds of prevalent things, here he says in the very first verse, talking talking about Shaucha Nirnaya, talking about Shaucha. What is he saying? He's saying Dehendriya Manaprana Buddhi Ahankara Chetasi. He's talking about the various places where the mala of the what is that called? The mala means the impurities of the raga and dvesha can accumulate and gather. So where can they gather? So he's pointing out, deha, in the body they can gather. Indriya, the sense organs. The sense organs can be either dull or not functioning properly, or they could be, they could be responding to the mind which is off, the mood of the mind is off and the sense organs are not doing their job. Then prana. There is a connection between the prana and the mind, as we always see in the meditation. There is a connection between the mind and the prana, and if the mind is disturbed, the prana gets disturbed. If the mind is calm, the prana is calm, and so like this we see this often. And so deha, body, mind, manaha, dehe, indriya, sense organs, prana, respiration, etc. Dehendriya manaf prana, buddhi, the intellect. The intellect can also have wrong conclusions. It can be a seat of wrong conclusions and wrong sankalpas as a result of wrong conclusions. Sankalpa means certain, pursuits and decisions. Decisions to pursue something can be wrong based on a subjective projection. And then buddhi ahankara chetasi. Chetas means the emotions, the seat of the emotions. Of course, the seat of the emotions is a big mess, because it is nothing but full of subjectivity. And so these are the places, ashuchau, atma bhava, so ashuchau, so these ashuchau here, atma bhava here is ahankara, so buddhi ahankara is here, ahankara is also mentioned. So the ahankara, the I notion that owns up the body, that owns up the mind, that owns up the sense organs, that owns up the pranas, everything as me, mine, mine, that ahankara is all, is the place, are the places where the impurities are lodged. So these impurities are lodged, ashuchau, ashuchi, ashuchau. So in these the impurities are there. Atma bhavaha, asau. Atma bhava here is not Atma as Sachidananda Atma. Atma here is this fellow, the body, mind, sense complex endowed person, this jiva who says this is me. Along with all these things, this is me, this fellow, this is the fellow that is, this is the areas of all these impurities. The impurity is not in the I, the Atma. The impurity is in the one that masquerades as the I, the full procession of the body, mind, senses, emotions, and intellect, memory, all these things. And then the I notion, which is at the head of the procession, which says these are all mine, which owns everything up. So here is where the ashuchi, the impurities are there. What are the impurities? Raga and dvesha. That's all. Strong preferences, strong prejudices, and based on that, misunderstandings. Feeling alienated, feeling unloved, feeling disconnected from Bhagavan, from everything else. This is what is all there. And then this the first verse is just a list of the places, ashuchitvasya karanam. These are the places where the impurities can be साक्षित्वभावनातो यैः तथा वैराग्यमृत्स्नया. साक्षित्वभावनातो यैः तथा वैराग्यमृत्स्नया. गन्धलेपक्षयकरं शौचं कुर्यादतन्द्रितः गन्धलेपक्षयकरं शौचं कुर्यादतन्द्रितः. This is an advice. The advice is very beautiful because it shows the way in which the jnanis, whose daily life we are extolling, how did they become jnanis? So their sadhana, what happens to their sadhana? Their sadhana becomes a very important source of inspiration for the rest of the people who are wanting to be just like the jnani. So it is not to be, this verse should not be understood like sakshitva bhavana toyaihi, etc. It should not be understood as an advice for the jnani. The jnani has already gone through the process of purification of the body, the mind, the raga, the dveshas have been purified, and as have all the difficulties with regard to the emotions through yama, niyama, all these, things that are there at hand. The raga, dvesha, everything has been very wonderfully purified. And then, so this being the case, now the jnani is not the one needing this special kind of bath. The jnani has done this bathing on a regular basis, and it has become her or his second nature, this kind of a bathing. And so, kuryat means may one do. Who is this one? The one that is interested in imbibing the characteristics of a jnani, in becoming the jnani. So may one do, kuryat. May one do what? May one do this kind of a purification. How? Atandritaha. Last line, atandritaha means you have to be always alert. With an alertness, may one do this kind of a purification. Because this means that the grit of the raga and the dvesha can creep up any time if one is not vigilant. Atandritaha means with vigilance. With vigilance, may one do this particular practice in order to be just like the jnani. So, and what is that? What did the jnani do? Did the jnani become a jnani? Through this practice alone. And what is the shaucham kuryat? So may this cleanliness be followed with discipline and vigilance. Atandritaha. Then what does this constitute? Sakshit. So for cleanliness, we need a few things. We need soap, we need water, and after water and soap, you need some perfume to dispel any other remaining odors, or to prevent any other things from, attaching to the body. So here, what constitutes the water? Sakshitva bhavana. Toyam, water. Sakshitva bhavana toyaihi. With the waters of the witnessing. The witnessing is the water. In fact, it makes it so easy for us. He has made it so. Narahari, the author of the Bodhasara, in his infinite compassion, has made it so easy for us, because if water is the witnessing, if witnessing is nothing but water, and if the water is a cleansing agent, it's an agent of cleansing, then what happens? Then that means witnessing itself is enough of a cleanser for raga dveshas. Mere witnessing the strong prejudices, the strong preferences in the crevices of the heart that have lodged there stubbornly, even though you may feel like, I don't know how to get rid of this, just the witnessing is enough. Just witnessing it's like pouring water on it. because there is a number of similarities, a beautiful metaphor here, a very beautiful imagery. There are a number of similarities between water and then what else? Between water and the witnessing. Water is clear, the witness is also unalloyed and unaffected by whatever the witness is witnessing. And water is always seen as pure. Water is a source of purification. So too, the witnessing is also a source of purification. Sakshitva bhavana toyaihi. Bhavana means from the standpoint of the sakshi, from abiding in the sakshita, in the status of the witness, abiding as the witness. Tatha vairagya mritsnaya. Then, in the same manner, you need soap. The ancient form of soap was clay. Mritsna means clay. In fact, it has made a big comeback in the modern spas. People go and take mud baths. Up till here, they are in the mud. And then you want people want to put something, what is that called, some Afghanistani clay, multani clay. So this multani mitti is very very is seen as drawing out all the impurities here, not the ragadveshas, but that which is in the skin. And so this was the ancient soap. Before they knew how to make soap, clay was the soap. In fact, now they say soap is so drying, don't use the soap. It is not good for the skin. What should you use? Clay. So I have to spend so much money because it's very expensive. You could to get this fine clay from. No. Just dig in the backyard and just go a little deep. Same thing will be there. Subsoil. So this is the clay which is cleansing. And this is how people used to clean the vessels also with clay and clean their bodies also with clay. In fact, in the traditional lineages, like Shankaracharya lineages, Shankaracharyas, even today, they will not be using soap for bathing. They will be using clay. This is a nod to the ancient ways. Mritsna is clay. So this mritsna, this clay, is got a reputation for drawing out oils, impurities, etc. And so if mritsna, the clay, is the soap, what does the clay represent? The clay should be replaced by vairagya. Vairagya is the soap. And the witnessing of the body, mind, senses is the water. And so this is so beautiful. See, look at that. And so the vairagya means iha mutra phala bhoga viragaha. We just take our trusted tattva bodha definition. Iha cha amutram cha. Iha and amutra. Iha mutra here and then elsewhere. And here and in other lives. Phalabhoga viragaha. The penchant for gaining the results of action and reveling in the results of action is called that is called this bhoktritva buddhi, freedom from that penchant to gain results of action and to enjoy the results of action here and elsewhere in afterlife, etc., is called vairagya. And why is this important? This is important because primarily this is very, very important because we have to make sure that we understand that this is one of the first prerequisites of Vedanta study, Viveka and Vairagya. We know this. But here the text is reiterating this very, very importantly. It is making this known. So this, the Viveka is discrimination between Nitya Vastu, that which is infinite, namely oneself, and anitya, that which is finite, which is everything else. Whatever you encounter is finite. And then Vairagya is exactly the twin brother of Viveka, because when I know that I have to pursue the infinite and not the finite, what should my relationship be to the finite? It should be dropped. The pursuit of the finite should be dropped in the wake of the discriminative knowledge that the finite is a dead end. It doesn't lead me anywhere. It must not be pursued. And so therefore what? So therefore this is this is vairagya. Ihamutra phalabhoga viragah. And very, very beautiful, because even though one may drop certain pursuits here, one still has raga and dvesha for some kind of a some kind of an imaginary afterlife, because this life itself we cannot understand properly, what to talk of afterlife. So some imaginary afterlife, there will be heaven, there will be Urvashi and Menaka. I will get to dance with them. These are all some fancies. There will be yakshas, gandharas, and kinnarvas. I will sing bhajans with them. This is all some kind of fanciful ideas, because nothing came in of being in this world. I could not fulfill a single desire, so let me just imagine what it will be like in the other life. This is some kind of a thing. So therefore the sages in defining vairagya made sure that all, not only your bucket list, but the afterlife list is also taken into account, and you are asked to drop that. So Vairagya is the clay that cleans out the impurities in the form of addictions, in the form of useless samskaras, vasanas. I really have to have this. Without this, my life is empty. Somebody else has it, therefore I need it. All these nonsensical things that one tells oneself. So this is how one becomes a jnani. These are the steps in the rungs of the ladder, and this kind of a path comes to the jnani naturally. Every day that vairagya is naturally renewed. Every day the witnessing naturally happens. But for the rest of the people, they have to make this into a ritualistic bath. You have to enter into this sadhana deliberately in order for this to then become a natural thing later on. Later on, it becomes a habit. So this is something which is wonderful. So the clay, just like the clay pulls out, draws out the impurities, makes the skin, supposedly, I don't know, but makes the skin more supple, and then freed of wrinkles, etc. Supposedly the clay does all this. And if the clay is vairagya, what does vairagya do? The vairagya draws out the raga dveshas, because the raga dveshas are still in the heart, and they direct the mind and the sense organs. Of course, the ahankara is at the helm of it all, and all of them direct, as we have seen in the Kathopanishad, in the chariot imagery. So they direct the sense organs, etc., to go pursue this and that, all the objects of delight, of immediate delight, objects of instant gratification. They direct and they say, do this, do that, get this, get that. And then the vairagya, what it does, it just pulls out the raga dveshas, and then so there is no need. It kills the raga dveshas on contact. And so the vairagya is directed to here we are again we had a little bit of a let's call it a hiccup. Okay, yeah, so a little bit of a hiccup, but we are back. And so this the vairagya pulls out the connection between the person's identity and the ragadveshas. Because in the ahankara there is a connection which is really a falsehood. It is a narrative that one tells oneself. There is no such connection. You are Satchidananda Atma. You are not connected to what you like, what you don't like. Your likes and dislikes do not define you. And so the soap of Vairagya draws out the impurities in the form of this wrong connection between the raga and the dvesha. And even though we say it kills the raga dvesha, it kills the pressure exerted by the raga and the dvesha. It kills the pressure. And when the pressure is gone, then the raga dveshas can stay. It doesn't matter because they don't really do a number on you. So this is the Vairagya. Then Gandhalepa Kshayakaram. Gandhalepa is Kshayakara. So, and then, the Kshayakara means it reduces what? Odors. The perfume that reduces the odor here is Gandhalepa. The Gandha is what? The Gandha is again a cleansing agent here. The remover of Vasana. In fact, the word Vasana has a double meaning. It means odor. It also means, some kind of remnants from the past. Past samskaras, past fears, past terrors, past desires, past pain, past sorrow, all these things which trouble the heart. So one comes out of the bath all renewed, and the anointing of this lepa, the anointment of the gandha is nothing but that which keeps the vasanas at bay. A practice that is kshayakara, that keeps the vasanas at bay, that reduces the force of the vasanas from eclipsing the present. Like Rahu, the sun-like self is as though eclipsed by past desires, past pressures, so many things. This is what the problem usually is. But in this kind of a bath, the bath of the waters pouring on the ahankara, manaha, buddhi, all these things, on the body, mind, sense complex, you pour the waters of witnessing. That already dislodges the strong sense of connection and identity with all these accoutrements, like the body, the mind, the senses, etc. And then you clean off the ragadveshas with the clay, and then you anoint. And what is the gandha here? A resolution to be in the present. That is the gandha. It is not talked about, but that is what the whole thing is. The resolution to really abide in the present, so that the past vasanas don't eclipse the present. A resolution to be objective, vairagya, and a resolution to be in the present. And that is the gandha, and because of that the person is totally cleansed, ready to face the day. Now this can be applicable in Divakara's commentary for this section. Divakara, as I told you, was a student of Narahari. In Divakara's commentary, Divakara makes sure to say that this practice is both this is a practice for the sadhaka, a spiritual seeker, but it comes automatically for the jnani. Jnani already has vairagya. Jnani is always witnessing effortlessly. Just like if somebody, for somebody to go and take a shower and to wash the body with soap is a no-brainer. You don't have to put an effort, to do that. It comes naturally. But imagine if somebody was in a coma, or if somebody had a stroke, And then they got revived. They became revived again. And after becoming revived, what happened? They had to go through what is called rehabilitation. Rehabilitation means the tasks that came naturally, you have to learn. You have to learn the difference between right hand, left hand, and how to move, how to coordinate the brain and make the hand move. This is soap, this is water, first water, then soap, then water again. This all has to be recalled, remembered, and then practiced. So the Ajnani is like this challenged person who has just the Ajnani, you can't call Ajnani, the Jnani wannabe, the one who wants to be a Jnani, who has woken up from the sleep of tamas, from the coma of tamas, and is ready to gain this knowledge. He is completely, is habitually challenged to go about the day, how to clean off the force of the raga dveshas, how to do this, how to be the witness, and has to be taught step by step, has to memorize the steps, has to practice the steps, and then so the jnani wannabe, the wannabe jnani is in the training stage. That is how we have to see it. Whereas the jnani doesn't need to even think about this. That doesn't, whatever, if there is any little impurity that sticks or whatever, it doesn't stick, but it as though disturbs the jnani even for a bit. The jnani through anything can completely falsify that very, very quickly. This is applicable both for the spiritual sadhaka and for the jnani. Moving on, I'm not going to do any screen shares because I found out that whenever I do that, the freezing is happening. So you look at your text, I will look at my text. Okay, yeah. So this way we shall just move forward. Okay, next one. एवं विधेन विधिना यत्सर्वं मङ्गलार्जनम् एतदेव मुनीन्द्राणां प्रातः शौचं विशुद्धकृत् एवं विधेन विधिना. Through these kinds of methods, by this method alone, and then sarvam, yat sarvam, that which is an auspicious sweeping, mangalarjanam, means the gain of this auspiciousness through this cleanliness. Pratah shaucham, the sweeping away of the raga dveshas, vishuddhikrit, the greatest among the sages are purified. And then what? By such a method of morning purification. While the Ajnani is still in bed and wondering, should I go to take a shower or not? And the sadhaka, the jignasu, is wondering how to get rid of the force of the raga dveshas, how to be the witness, how to use the soap of vairagya. The jnani, is walking on the road of auspiciousness. Through these kinds of practices, not now, or the lifelong, before the jnani became a jnani, not now. Now it comes so naturally, the practice has been perfected. The practice has outdone itself. The practice is no longer necessary because the practice has become them, has become one with them. Okay. So that is evam vidhena vidhina. Then what happens? Munīndra-Dinācārya etadeva, for the greatest among the sages, pratah shaucham, the morning cleaning has perfected itself. Vishuddhikrit. Vishuddhikrit means this practice has perfected itself, has resulted in gaining this perfection of this practice. In a way, one has outgrown the need for this practice. There is no need to practice anymore. Because we shouldn't make the mistake of thinking that the jnani, the person of self-knowledge, is also subject to raga and dvesha and also needs to keep on cleansing themselves. This is not the correct interpretation at all. But the author here, is not writing this for the jnani, correct? Because if this whole section on jnani lakshana, the characteristics of a person of knowledge, is not for the person of knowledge. Because the person of knowledge already knows who he or she is. They don't need to study about themselves in a book. Then is Narahari writing this for the ajnani? Then again we have to say no. Because the ajnani is fast asleep to books like these. They are not interested. If you take them to a movie, they will go with you. And then you take them out to dinner, they will say yes. Because they are in a different realm. So who is this section for? Who is this whole book of Bodhasara for? It is for the person in between. The Trishanku, which is in between. Trishanku was one sage, And he became a pawn between two superpowers, Indra and then another sage. So Indra said, I can stop him from coming to heaven. And another sage on the earth said, no, I'm going to send him to heaven. And then the two forces, the powers of the sage, poor Trishanku was in between. So in a way, the Jignasu is like Trishanku, not comatose, not sleeping the sleep of Atma Ajnanam, and in the process of knowing oneself, on the way to self-knowledge, some clarity is there, but confusion is there, error is there, the knowledge is riddled with all kinds of doubts. This is who precisely this portion is addressing. Now Narahari has to be very, very, very careful, because if he were to say that this is only for the jnanis, then if it only applies to the jnanis, then why am I reading it? Somebody can think. And if it is for the ajnanis, it will be a book that is never opened or never read. So therefore, he is making the practice very poetic and alluring. It is for the mumukshu, it is for the jignasu. And therefore, through all these poetic alliterations and imageries and metaphors, he is making it so alluring, so that the people can do this very, very easily. Can follow this very, very easily. For the jnani, the jnani has been there, done that, and perfected the whole practice. Okay? So now, the next one. Jnana yoga prasannanam mumuksha mukhamuchyate. Jnana yoga prasannanam mumuksha mukhamuchyate. Shraddha jalena tacchuddhihi mukha prakshalanam hitat. Shraddha jalena tacchuddhihi mukha prakshalanam hitat. Now, one may wonder, because the first verse was talking in this section. The first verse is talking about where the impurities exist, in the mind, in the heart, etc., etc. And then the second verse is talking about how to clean off those impurities. The third verse is concluding how the sages became exalted by these methods. By following these methods, the sages have become the best among the sages. Then suddenly now, in verse number 4, there is a verse on face washing, mukha prakshalanam. One has to wonder how, one has to wonder why suddenly this came. So this can be taken as, some, what is that called? Some kind of a practice that people used to do before lunch. So there was the sipping of the water, achamanam, that is there before puja also. But before lunch, they used to wash their face and then they used to sit down for lunch. So it's not that the Narahari, the poet, and the poet come Pandit, forgot to describe face washing, and then after bath said, "Ayyo, I forgot," and then stuck in a verse about face washing. That is not what is happening here. We have to be very clear that this must be some other karma in the Vaidika dharma, some kind of a purification before having lunch, because the lunch was seen as a offering to the inner fire, to Bhagavan in the form of inner fire. So this washing up of the face and the hands before lunch. So then what does the Jnani do? So then first of all, what is the face? So, mumuksha mukham uchyate. The strong desire to be free is the face. And why is this the face? Because when you see a person when you see this Trishanku that I just described, when you see the person wanting to be free, then that is, that is as good as the face. Because when you greet a person, what do you see first? The face. Nowadays you just see a pair of eyes because the rest of it is a mask. But in the non-corona time, what do you see? You see the face. So the face is mumuksha. Mumuksha is the face. And it's a smiling face. One is asked to wash the smiling face. So the face is the desire for freedom, which should be translated as the desire for knowledge. So the face is the desire for freedom, correct? And then the desire for, the desire for knowledge is the face, because the desire for freedom and the desire for knowledge are one and the same thing. Then the face has a smile on it. What is the smile? Jnana yoga. The contentment of being on a path of knowledge. Nishtha, jnana nishtha. A commitment to following the path of knowledge is the smiling face. Is the smile on the face. The face is the desire to be free, the desire to study Vedanta in order to be free, and the smile is the contentment of having found a home in Vedanta. When do you smile? When you are happy, when you are contented, when you are at home with yourself. And so the decision to study Vedanta is a way of being at home with yourself. That is the face. What can go wrong? This is wonderful. Well, what else should be there? Why does the verse even have another line? Well, it has another line because this face needs washing. But mumuksha needs washing. And then the commitment to Vedanta needs washing. Well, what is the washing here? The washing is a renewal of the commitment. Commitment is there, but the commitment can come under the strong winds which bring the dust and the grit of samsara which collects on the face. The face of mumuksha, the face of jignasa becomes a little vulnerable. To what? To public opinion. What's wrong with you? You're always taking some retreat or the other. Why can't you just be contented with what is there and what you have? Why are you all in this kind of a situation? This is one way. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should not be doing this. And then people will be very much, very, very clear that, this is not for you. You are such a life-loving person. Means you are into prayers. That's what they are saying, and they are happy about that. You are such a life-loving person, this ashram life and this sitting and taking classes and doing yoga, etc. This is not for you. Why should you do this? You don't need this at all. Meditation, yoga, Vedanta, all this is not for you at all. This is, you are such a wonderful person. You are the life of every party. And then you make so many jokes. And you have to be all serious if you become a Swami. This is their idea of what a Swami is like, okay? Yeah, you have to become all serious. You can't have fun. And you have to wear orange clothes every day. And then, you don't, what is this? This is not a life for you. And then the mumuksha gets a little, shaky. This is called Adi Bhautika disturbance. Then what happens? Then sometimes there is Adi Daivika disturbance, like 2 disturbances we had today in terms of the internet. In terms of the internet leaving. I had to run to the neighbor's house and I'm taking the class from there. So I had to run to the neighbor's house. So this is, Adi Bhautika disturbance. And so let us, but you are all very pakka Vedantins. But imagine if somebody had just come for the first time and the resolve was not very strong and somebody else had to convince them, please take this retreat, please come and please listen to this. And then suddenly the teacher disappeared. And poor things, they had heard, when you are ready, the teacher appears. Here I am ready, and the teacher disappeared. What kind of... Actually, this is Vedanta. When you are ready, the teacher disappears. How? As you, unto you. This is how. The teacher disappears in you. There is that oneness. And so imagine if somebody was there, not of strong resolve, they would have just left. And then, they would have said, okay, I'm not meant for this. This is a sign. So many other signs will be beating them on the head. They don't listen at all. Because the raga dveshas are very strong and they preponderate and they predominate. But suddenly they see a sign here and then they just, because the mumuksha is affected by what is called Adi Bhautika Vignani. Adi Daivika, acts of God. And then what? Adi Bhautika, we have already we have talked about those disturbances which come from one's surroundings. Such as public opinion, somebody telling you, you are not meant for this, and then again your confidence being shaken. Then if all those are not there, if one is lucky enough not to be assailed by acts of God or disturbances from the surroundings, one has what is called Adhyatmika Vignani. Some things can, prasabham harati manaha. The Bhagavad Gita says, forcefully the mind is taken away. And forcefully one does things that one doesn't want to do. And forcefully somehow the raga dveshas preponderate. And what do? They just take the person away from the resolve. Some adverse circumstances happen. See, I have been studying Vedanta, but then I got so angry at so and so, at my child who I love so much. I got so angry. And this is not okay. I cannot stand myself, therefore I am going to stop studying. Adhyatmika Vigna. So this is the reason why the mumuksha has to be kept clear. The face of mumuksha, in fact the face which is mumuksha, has to be kept clear. Because the dust and the dirt of samsara in the form of strong obstacles to this knowledge keep coming and they take one away from the knowledge. One attends one class, and then what has happened? I attended the Easter retreat last year. Kuch nahi hua, nothing happened. This year also nothing will happen. The person has already decided nothing will happen. So why bother? I attended one class, but I didn't like it. What do you mean you didn't like it? It is Upanishad. It is all based on the Upanishad. It is Bhagavad Gita. It is Vedanta. What is there to not like? It is unfolding the nature of the self as totally lovable. What is there to not like about being totally lovable, of being limitless, of being glorious, and of being taught to abide in that glory? What is there not to like? Still, the people think that, I didn't like it. And this means what? The raga dveshas are hovering like vultures, trying to grab bits of mumuksha even before it is completely dead. Birds of prey are stalking this jnana, are stalking this mumuksha. The face of mumuksha is always under threat for the jnani wannabe. For the person who is wanting to be a jnani, the mumuksha must be hugged, embraced, protected from these various predators. Some of them from within, some of them from without. All in the form of notions. And so how to protect the mumuksha? Clean off all this grit and the dirt and all these obstacles, these beliefs, these notions. How? And here, through the Shraddha Jalena Tat Shuddhihi. Now the water, before what was the water? Sakshita Toyaihi. The witnessing was the water. Now he is changing the metaphor. The water is Shraddha. What protects your desire to study is Shraddha. What protects the desire for Vedanta is Shraddha. What protects the desire to be free is Shraddha. What is this Shraddha? Shraddha means Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satyabuddhi Avadharana. Avadharana, the holding, the ability to hold, to keep. And then to keep what? To keep the benefit of doubt, to give the benefit of doubt, to keep the trust. With reference to the Shastra, that this Shastra will definitely free me like it has freed my teacher and the teacher before that and the teacher before that and the teacher before that, all the way to Lord Shiva. And then there is a Shraddha with regard to the Shastra. The Shastra means the texts will definitely show the way. The texts will free me and show the way. And then what? Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya. The words of the teacher who interprets the Shastra and makes it more palatable, more delightful, more relevant to the times in which the student is studying. So with reference to the words of the Guru and with reference to the words of the teaching, I have an open mind. This is Shraddha. We can go a step further. The open mind is called an open mind because it's a trusting mind. And this Shraddha has to be cultivated because that is what is called in the Bhagavad Gita. It is called Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam. A very famous verse has this phrase in it. The one endowed with Shraddha, Shraddhavan, the one endowed with Shraddha, Labhate, gains the knowledge of the self. In other words, becomes a Jnani. So how did the Jnani become the Jnani? By washing the face of Mumuksha with the waters of Shraddha all the time. And this is a very, very important teaching for the people who are wanting to be jnanis and who are committed to walking on this path. So Shraddha is trust. Who is being asked to trust? The one who is suffering from distrust. In fact, one comes to the Shastra because one doesn't trust anybody. One is lonely, one is alone, one cannot trust, one doesn't have any faith in anything anymore. The hopeless person comes to Shraddha. And until there is exposure to Shastra, Shraddha doesn't come. And until Shraddha comes, the exposure to Shastra is useless. Here we have a very interesting catch-22. And so therefore, we have to unpack a little bit what this Shraddha is all about. You see a small baby. It has total trust. Because it is totally helpless and totally dependent upon whoever is caring for it. If you pick it up, it will just allow itself to be picked up. If some kidnapper, potential kidnapper picks it up, it will happily go along with that fellow also. Because it doesn't know better. It doesn't know how to protect itself. It relies on anybody that is there to take care of it. Total trust, which compensates the complete and total helplessness. And then slowly the baby grows. 6-month-old, it's this is my mummy, this is my daddy. OMG, they are so amazing. They are like God. They can walk, they can talk, they can sing, they can dance. I can't even move around. Even to flip, I cannot even flip myself. They have to carry me from place to place. They must be gods because I'm so connected to them. The child has what we called earlier Shobhana Adhyasa on the parents. A value-laden love. The child sees them as infallible, sees infallibility in them because it is so hopeless, it is so fallible, it is so small. It has to see them as infallible because how else will it trust them? It needs to trust in something infallible, and what is available is these two people who are actually eminently fallible. The mother is unavailable, the father is inconsistent. And then, and Pujya Swamiji's famous example, one day the mother sees a cockroach. First the child sees the cockroach. And then what happens? The child runs to the mother. It's a weird insect, it's coming after me. Catches hold of the mother's dress. And the mother is more afraid of the cockroach than the child. The mother abandons the child and climbs on the dining table. And the child is like, what happened? What happened just now? I thought she is going to protect me. I thought she's going to save me. She was my savior. She's my goddess. And then from the safety of the dining table, she calls the father who is in the other room. The father doesn't even come into the room. No, you be okay there. I'll call pest control. That is my contribution to this situation. And so the child has a sinking feeling. This is an inevitable loss of trust. Ashobhana Adhyasa follows. Shobhana Adhyasa. First, the child has put these parents on a pedestal because for its own survival, it has to do that. Please see this. Everybody does this. This is universal. As children, one adores one's parents. One cannot live without them, literally. Then as one sees the inconsistencies and the various, fallacies in the mother, in the father, as the child grows up, the distrust follows. There is a big breach of trust. And the child grows into a distrusting adult. Even though one may think one is trusting, but one is not that trusting at all. One is suspicious of oneself, one is suspicious of other jivas, one is suspicious of the Jagat, one is suspicious even of Bhagavan. And that lamenting of the fall of the caregivers from the coveted throne of infallibility, that lament finds its culmination in the discovery of Ishvara as the mother and the father of the universe. That is the journey of the jiva. From Hoham to Soham. This is the journey. The trust that has been breached by the local mother and father has to be regained by discovering the mother and the father of the universe as the truth of oneself. And that trust is the regaining of that trust is a two-step process. The first step is discovering the infallible as Ishvara. We don't say Ishvara is infallible, that would be wrong. It's a setup for again another dismantling. That which is infallible is Ishvara. And in the discovery of Ishvara, in the discovery of the mother and the father of the universe, then that trust is regained. Because that which is infallible cannot harm me. Because it is infallible. The infallible is Ishvara. I regain my trust in the infallible. Because the local people cannot be trusted. The significant other will definitely disappoint. The local mother and the father will disappoint. The siblings will disappoint. Special friends will disappoint. And so therefore, I have to discover the infallible as the truth of the Jagat, as the truth of everything that is fallible. And that infallible is Ishvara. And that infallible, when I understand that these are the parents' first step, these are my real parents. I am a devotee. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva. Tvameva bandhuhu sakha tvameva. This is the prayer. Because you won't disappoint as the mother, as the father. Why will you not disappoint? Because I have already seen that that which is infallible is you. So it is not a setup for disappointment. So if I have disappointment, that is Ishvara. Ishvara in the form of the mental order, the psychological order, that whenever a raga is unfulfilled, disappointment follows. You see, there is no loneliness anymore. There is a sense of connection. The disappointment is not mine alone. It belongs to everybody. Everybody who has a mind, everybody who has ragadveshas, everybody whose ragadveshas are not fulfilled is subject to disappointment. So what have we done here? We have Ishvarized the disappointment. We have Ishvarized the mind. We have Ishvarized all the difficult emotions, the sorrow, the jealousy, the resistance, the fear, the despondency, the hopelessness, the despair, and the doubt. Even the lack of Shraddha is Ishvarized. That given this kind of a background, definitely there will be trust issues. This is Ishvarized. You are not left with a bunch of emotions that you cannot handle. How beautiful is this devotion in this culture. That is why one is told to relate to Ishvara as a Ishta Devata, and there is a freedom to relate. How? There is a freedom to relate as mother, mother goddess, as father. Mirabai said, you are my consort. Oh Krishna, you are my beloved. Even in the Sufi tradition, Bhagavan is called the beloved, the one who will always be there for me. And there is also Vatsalya Bhakti. Vatsalya Bhakti means the love of the mother for the child. like Mother Yashoda scolded baby Krishna. How many times have I told you not to eat mud? Open your mouth. Obediently opens the mouth. She sees the entire galaxies. Okay, close it, never mind. Can't handle this. Even when before he could walk, he was showing Vishwarupa Darshana. Well, she was enjoying disciplining the Lord. It's a kind of a bhakti, vatsalya bhakti. So this makes the devotion personalized. And for the Shraddha is nothing but devotion. The precursor of devotion, the precursor of Shraddha is bhakti. And so the bhakti has to be personalized. You have to feel it. You have to feel it strongly. You have to just do this. You have to, that form of Bhagavan has to become real for you. And that is why Naivedya. It's not that Bhagavan is waiting for some few raisins and dry fruits that you're going to say, you're going to give like this. No. It is for you. It is for you to discover that devotion, and that is what you are going to do. This is the first step. And the second step is understanding that I am non-separate from that infallible. That infallible cannot disappoint me, because I have Ishvarized that which disappoints. I have Ishvarized my despondency, my despair, my difficult emotions. Even my lack of trust is understandable. It is part of the infallible. It is included in the infallible. And all my limitations are included in the infallible, in that which is limitless. And so therefore, when I lay my limitations down at the feet, at the altar of the limitless, what remains is the limitless. My limitations are subsumed. That's why in bhakti there is oneness. The taste of oneness in bhakti is made real in the jnanam because of Shraddha. One has to help oneself to this trust, without which there is no knowledge possible. One can stop attending this retreat or any other retreats. Do yourself a favor, because if there is no Shraddha, what is the point of attending the retreats, right? So that Shraddha first is cultivated. Shraddhaya Shraddham Hau Hau Hau. Rathantara Samagana. Very beautiful. Setum Stara. Cross the bridge. Dustaran Setum Stara. Cross the bridge which is difficult to cross. And then how do I cross Ashraddha? Ashraddha means lack of trust. How do I cross? Shraddhaya. By cultivating trust. Build the bridge of trust to cross the distrust. Build the bridge of trust. So the student, if Vedanta is a potluck, the student brings Shraddha, the dish of Shraddha. And what does the teacher bring? Only one dish, because it's all oneness, which is dished out in the form of the Upanishad, etc., etc. But the Shraddha makes this dish tasty, allows this dish to be assimilated, this dish of oneness to be assimilated, to be internalized. Shraddha is the key that unlocks the words of the teacher and the words of the Upanishad. Without Shraddha, nothing is there. And so therefore, the Shraddha is the water that washes the face. And very beautiful. And the Shraddha is expressed as devotion to Bhagavan, devotion to Shastra, devotion to the Guru, as the Guru is itself is seen as Bhagavan in this culture. So without bhakti, there is no mukti. And that's why the devotion is of many colors. You play holy with Lord Krishna. In which other, tradition this is possible? Tell me. You play holy with Lord Krishna. You play holy with Lord Rama. And you do all these things. It is just so wonderful. It makes the vision come alive in the everyday. And I want to conclude with a beautiful story that I witnessed. This is a story that I witnessed in one of my travels with Pujya Swamiji. And we were in Rajasthan, in Jaipur. And there was a lady who came to the talks every day. She and her husband came. She was so devout. And Pujya Swamiji was very fond of her. And then, on the 8th day or the 9th day, on the second last day of the talks, she said, I want to bring my child to get blessed by Swamiji, to meet Swamiji. Is it possible? I said, definitely. Please bring your child. And she said, my Lalla, my child is so cute. I really want Pujya Swamiji to meet him. And I said, definitely, bring. I'll make sure. But he's always around people. Where will he have the time for me? I said, I'll tell him. You please bring. I'll make sure that he will have the time for you. And the next day again, I didn't see any child with her. So I said, where is your baby? Where is your child? Well, he's sleeping in the other room. And then finally Pujya Swamiji said, okay, I'll see her and I'll see the whole family, ask them to come. Again, no child. Only the husband and the wife came, and then she was carrying one box. And we were all very intrigued. What is this box? And then she slowly opened the box and then fanned. There was a little baby Krishna there. She's fanning the baby Krishna. She says, Lalla, it's time to wake up. I'll give you your milk. But meet this Mahatma, and I have brought you to meet this special Mahatma who has been talking about you the whole time, Bhagavad Gita and everything. And then the husband, it turns out that she had lost her son at 4 or 5 years old, couple of years back, a year ago actually. And then she had taken to this form of devotion. She was not mad, certainly not. People may call her mad. But this was the way she was healing herself of that senseless grief of losing a young child. And the husband told the story, and tears falling from his eyes, tears falling from her eyes. And Pujya Swamiji just put his hand on her head and said, you have made it. If this is the extent of your bhakti, then jnanam just will walk into your heart. You keep studying, he blessed her. And this is, this is what Shraddha is. It is not blind. It is where everything becomes alive in the form of Bhagavan. As Bhagavan, everything shines. There is nothing separate from Bhagavan. And then it is just one more step. There is nothing separate from me. From that to that, it doesn't take time. So that Shraddha which one brings to the teaching situation opens the heart. The heart is like a lotus, and the Shastra is there. The Shraddha is the sunlight that illumines the Shastra, in whose presence the heart lotus blossoms. And one blooms into a knowledgeable and compassionate being, abiding in one's glory, abiding in that limitless wholeness that we call Ananda. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you to everybody. Om. Yeah. Now there is so next class 10 to 11 Mundakopanishad, and then 11 to 11:15 farewell and Guru Dakshina, and then maybe I will log on at that time. internet, if the internet devata cooperates, I will log on for those 15 minutes, and then we'll have a chance to, we'll have to say, we'll have a chance, another chance to say, oh, all the best, take care.